All right, let's do it. Yo, yo, yo. Welcome
Don't
to
do that.
season three,
Don't say
episode
yo.
20. No?
No,
Yo, yo, yo. No?
that was
Okay, what
nasty.
about.
That
Okay,
was
okay, okay, okay.
nasty.
What about. Okay, I'm just trying to switch it up because I always do. What's going on, guys?
You
I
do,
always do. What's
but
going
let's
on,
dead
guys?
that yo yo yo. Don't
Hey,
don't
hey,
ever.
hey, hey. Hey, hey,
Hey
hey.
there.
Hey
Hey
there.
there.
That's not
Oh
bad.
man. What,
Maybe I'll open it with that.
yeah.
Hey
Welcome.
there.
Hey there, man. Guys,
Hey there.
welcome to another episode of Are We Recorded. You already know who it is, man. The best black and white duo on YouTube. You got my black friend Gage Sutton over. No, I'm just playing. You got Mr. You got Mr. Gage Sutton 007, and your other co-host Pablo Frescobar, Mr. 5'5" of Pure Temptation, Big Sex, Ethan Hamilton. Thank you guys for watching, man. Appreciate you guys spending your time with us, man. Time is fleeting. Time is so short, so minuscule, and you chose to spend it with us. So thank you guys for watching and listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Make sure to follow the podcast there, like it, rate it, give us your opinions. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to see more content from us at our recording podcast on YouTube and on all our socials. It's been a minute since we recorded. You know what I mean? So, Gage, how you been doing, man? I know you've been putting the extra work in the gym, and it hurts like hell. I'm glad you feeling the same pain that I felt when I first started getting back into it.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a process. I'm calling it the start of my training arc. So
Like
we're
Naruto?
just yeah, basically. But we're just getting started though. So I'm obviously feeling a little sore, but I got my protein powder, my creatine powder. I'm gonna make sure these gains are coming in.
Yeah, no, man. Come on, it's bulking season. We gotta and we're only doing this for one thing and one thing only, for the hose. So, no, I'm just playing. But that is the reason why a lot of people do go to the gym, though. Not to make this like a gym episode to start out with, but I mean, it makes you think about all the stuff we did. Like, can you think of a time when you did something strictly for the hose and it backfired tremendously?
Bro, you do everything. Like the way you dress, the way you like conduct yourself. There are a lot of things that I think people don't take into account that men have to do
Not
to
that they have to do, they choose to do.
they choose to.
I'm not with you on that. We don't have to do anything. I don't do half the stuff I do for the female gaze. Whether if it goes for the female gaze, it does. Like as far as like I guess appearances go. Don't get me wrong. I would love like a female appearance or maybe like the clothing, like maybe how does this shirt fit or like what do you think about these pants? But in general, I don't think I do that. Do you feel like I do that?
Mm, I don't know because I mean I feel like you just at its core I feel like you're limited by what you can wear because of like what you think like would you be able to hit on a girl in like a kilt or in a skirt or something?
If I had the confidence to, I would do it, but I don't have the confidence to hit on a chick with it, and I don't wear skirts or kilts, so I guess that plays a factor into that. But at the same time, I feel like it's just like if you like something, you like something. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't necessarily do
Yeah.
it for the gays. Don't get me wrong. If guys or girls in this matter do something for the opposite sex's gays, then so be it. I'm not a hater. I am a hater, but not for that. So do you feel like like I feel like I can have a time where I did something specific for the gays, like gays
Yeah.
for the female gays. Like definitely like cologne. Like I love colognes a lot, and my favorite thing to do is go shopping with a woman for cologne because I feel like that's when you get like don't get me wrong, I'm gonna have final say if like a cologne smell good, and I think we're getting to the age like the long are the days where we use Axe and count Axe as cologne, like in
Yeah.
middle school.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? We have colognes for every day going out. We have colognes when we go out during the nighttime. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's been pretty interesting. It's just getting into colognes. They're fucking expensive, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Cologne is expensive. And I mean, I feel like everything's expensive nowadays, man. I mean, I went to Wendy's the other day. They don't even have the 4 for $4 anymore. It's the $5 biggie
They don't.
bag.
They don't have.
Screwed.
They don't have the 4 at Wendy's no more.
At least not the one I went to. I was like,
I'll let you.
what
I'll
does
get
this
over the fact that you
economy
still go to
come to?
Wendy's. I'll let that go that you still get over. I feel like we shouldn't be eating at Wendy's at spots like Wendy's and Arby's and shit like no more. Like we shouldn't.
Wendy's, I don't care if this is a controversial opinion. Wendy's is better than McDonald's.
You're a
and
liar. You're a
I swear
liar.
to God, Wendy's is bang for your buck, and the food is better. Personally,
No, McDonald's, boy, you get the little app, and literally once a month, like Dad put me out to this. Once a month, they get you him and Travis. They give you like free fries or like a free 6-piece chicken nuggets on the dishes. So McDonald's be coming in clutch. I can't lie.
mm.
But the thing with McDonald's, you feel like garbaggio afterwards.
Exactly,
But that's okay. Like
exactly.
McDonald's once in a while, like resets your system. Like it flushes you out. Like you're chill after that.
I mean, I guess, but but even McDonald's is having this problem. They used to have like the whole like full dollar menu, and now it's like you can't get a like McChicken for less than $3. Like it's I don't know, something's going on in this country, and we're gonna get to the bottom of it
Yeah,
in next
bro,
season when
but that's
when we get political.
no, we're not doing that. Even though next season,
No,
bro,
we're
this
not getting political.
keep in mind, bro. This time next year is gonna be the election. You know what that is means? Oh
Oh yeah.
my gosh, bro! This time next year we're gonna be miserable. Even earlier than like
Okay,
all
you know
this
what?
summer is gonna be like we're gonna see all the activists come out that
Yeah,
have been
actually,
hiding for 3 years.
we should put an alert up. We were totally joking about that. This show's not going to get political. Neither of us are educated enough to go about this for a whole season. So, but
Any person that believed that, like that mean you were getting political, just we just gotta leave it to
yeah,
them. Like it's natural selection at that point.
it's like yeah, go watch the last two seasons of the show and tell us if we've ever been politically correct. But speaking of politically correct, Lil Yachty has been in the news a lot, and I want to start with his comments about Billie Eilish. Or I guess not really his comments, but his lyrics and what Billie Eilish's comments, because we were talking about how the female gaze and how men don't have to do certain things. Um, Billie Eilish said that she was okay with Lil Yachty making the bar about how big her tits were, and Billie obviously took it like a champ. But then she said something about men that has a lot of people talking, and it was that like men aren't critiqued for their bodies. What do you think of that?
I mean, not to the same extent that like a woman is, but also we also like the whole internet made fun of Gunna being fat for about 3 years.
Yes.
But
Yes. I was just
I'm
about to
with
say.
I'm with her from that perspective. Like the perspective, of, like in comparison to the average woman, yeah. But I mean, it does happen every now and then. But I think that
No,
leads
the
us down
meme
the
is
path.
literally the meme is literally the fat guy with his shirt off saying put a shirt on, and then the next one is Lizzo and it's like empowering.
But I don't know
So
if it's
I don't know.
I don't know if it's the same question. Like I said, I think she has a point, but that's always been hip hop though. Like hip hop has been like, oh, this fine girl that everybody thinks is fine on the internet. Let me shout her out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Snot did it with Doja Cat. He had a song Doja Cat, and she didn't really fuck with it a lot. People have shouted out Ice Spice and Lori Harvey and all this stuff, and that's what hip hop is. Sometimes it
Yeah.
gets kind of weirdo behavior, but I don't think that one was. I mean, Billy seems fine with it. So,
Yeah.
and honestly, that's not like one of the. I wouldn't say that's one of the bigger things that's happened with Yachty in recent news, like because he's had a pretty big year.
Yep.
His album is one of my favorite albums of the year. I think it's his best album. Um,
Didn't get a
and
Grammy nomination, but we'll talk
did
about that later.
we'll talk about that later. He had the whole like executive producing the previous Drake album. He also had the whole controversy with not even controversy, like him just going back and forth with a lot. I've seen him go back and forth a lot with fans on Twitter recently. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Man, I think Yachty, especially with his comments about hip hop lately. He made a comment, and if you didn't see the TikTok the other day, Yachty made a comment along the lines of that hip hop is in a terrible place right now, and that there's no creativity, that artists aren't taking risks. And while I think there's a lot of validity in what Yachty is saying, I don't think it should be coming from him at this point in time, because I mean, if this was like an NBA, like to to compare it to the NBA, I'd be like Yachty would get the most improved player. He hasn't always been this guy who's gonna take a huge risk, like he did with Let's Start Here. This is something that's more new to him it'd be different if we're hearing this from someone who's been doing it for years and has always been seen as someone who doesn't follow the mold. But Yachty has been part of the mold. Like, he's never really stepped out of his comfort zone to this
Uh,
degree before.
I'm right there with you. Honestly, I have no problem with Yachty saying what it is because I feel like, especially not in hip hop as a whole, but like mainstream hip hop, it's definitely gotten really lazy. And I think, but that's
Yeah.
like a lot of contributing factors. It's like how we listen to music now. We listen to music in AirPods and headphones. We listen to music on TikTok in 4 or 5 second snippets. So artists have to change the way that they, I guess, organize their mood or sequence or make their music so that people they can get more listeners. So I get them from that perspective, but I think it's more so like right message, wrong messenger, because that's
Mm-hmm.
literally Little Yachty's bag right there, and that's not a bad thing. Like I am not saying I've been a stan of Lil Yachty. Like I like his music now. I wasn't the biggest fan 2 3 years ago, and I feel like that's okay with me. That's like my right as a consumer. I feel like artists get sensitive with like, oh, if you haven't been like artists get really sensitive when it comes to the fact like, oh, if you weren't my fan all the way at the beginning, then you can't be my fan now that I'm popping. It's like, no, you were making trash shit at the beginning. I wasn't fucking with it. Now I'm fucking with the sound that you're making now. I don't think it has to do too much with the fact that like now that you're popping, now I'm fucking with you. You know what I'm saying? Not saying this specifically applies with Yachty, but like I wasn't the biggest Yachty fan. And now I'm starting to like a lot of the stuff. Like I think Holster is song of the year, but Holster is a simple rap song. Like same with Tesla, same with what's the other song that he had? Poland. Those are all simple, like low quality hip hop songs. And it's not a bad thing. They're fun microwave songs for the moment. But we might look there's a very good chance in like 2 3 years we'll look back at those songs and be like, oh, those were cool. I just feel like it's
Yeah.
right message, wrong messenger.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it's just because he is also so big in the media. I saw something recently about Ice-T saying something about like the state of hip hop, and he said how like we don't really listen to albums anymore. Like, or I guess he said sides of an album. Like, you and me are vinyl guys, so we'll put the vinyl down and we'll listen to the whole side. We don't skip songs. We listen to the whole side of an album. And I kind of agree with that. Where like artists are just kind of putting together these albums with no really sense of like, okay, this is the mood, or this is like an idea of this is how it's going to be like continued.
Sequencing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like sequencing, I think that's the right word. um and that's kind of a lost art right now in hip hop, especially just with the creative side of it, like you said. And I think I attribute that to like just the streams and how artists are now forced to like put 20 songs on their albums if they want to see stream success. And we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but I think hip hop is in a weird place right now. I don't think it's in a terrible place because we've still got some really talented artists, but they're probably just
There's
not
so
getting the shine.
and there's so much variety too. That's why I don't mess with what he's saying. Like there's so much variety in hip hop more than ever. Like
Yeah.
mainstream success might be not seeing like the top end quality that maybe we're used to seeing, but like overall, there's so many different avenues and lanes and like subgenres within genres of hip hop that make it so interesting that I'm not jacking that.
But honestly, all genres kind of have like their down periods. Not to say that this is a down period for hip hop, but even if it is, even if you would say that commercially hip hop is in a down period, every genre kind of makes a comeback. Like we're seeing it with rock music right now. And rock music kind of was dying for a little bit. There are a lot of people who thought rock music wasn't going to come back. But thanks to guys like Yachty, thanks to guys like Lil
You
Uzi,
count Yachty
rock is
as
making a
rock
comeback.
as making rock music? I don't know if I count Yachty
Yeah,
as that.
because honestly, Let's Start Here was heavily inspired by Pink Floyd. Like if you heard like the rock guitars, the psychedelic like Jimi Hendrix sound, that's rock music. I mean, it's old, but it's rock music. It's not like heavy metal, Bring Me the Horizon kind of stuff that like, it's like kind of modern. But Yachty was incorporating a lot of rock music into this album. And I would credit him to now the growth of rock music in the last year, because people heard that. I heard it and it was like, what are these Pink Floyd guitars that are happening in my ear right now? This is a Lil Yachty album.
I mean, I agree with you. I think this ever since post COVID, I think hip hop's kind of I guess trending downward, um, in terms of like just growth in general. Only because I still think it's the biggest genre in the world,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I don't think it's growing at the same rapid pace. And that has a lot of contributing factors, like the fact that streaming, people weren't going to concerts for a long time. Hip hop concerts aren't the best concerts to go to because a lot of rappers rap over their vocals, which is like a pet peeve of mine. But at the same time, just a lot of people, I think hip hop is weird in the sense that like I have my own pet peeves. Like hip hop is the only genre that we people just other genres just steal from religiously and then just get no credit from it. Like just hip hop culture in general, the clothing we wear, the music we make, like some of the trends and stuff that get stolen from, and we just allow it to happen so frequently. For example, I'm a big like fan of like just in general like Afro beats, um, Caribbean, African music. Like I've really been getting into that the past year or so. And Burna Boy had this comment when he talked about like Americans not having any culture. I'm butchering it, of course, but I really don't give a damn. Um, like he just talks about how he talks about how American culture isn't really their own culture. Like we don't have our own culture because it's like we don't know where we're from, like Black American culture. But at the same time, it's like, well, aren't you stealing American culture with the baggy jerseys, the baggy jean shorts, and like the Timberland boots? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, so that's interesting because uh, n- uh, me personally, I kind of see it as like hip hop embraces the kind of like stealing, or not stealing, but like borrowing of other things to influence like a new sound. Like like we were just talking about from the music standpoint, Yachty borrowed a lot of sound from rock music to help influence this new album. And I feel like as long as you know where it comes from and like appreciative of like where it grew or like where we got these like certain fashion trends or we got these certain kind of music things from hip hop. I mean, I think that's ultimately what like sampling is. You use the word stealing. I don't like the word stealing, especially in the context of hip hop, because it's always been when you borrow someone else's work to make it your own, it's you're doing it from a point of appreciation. You're doing it to enhance the song in some way. So I don't know, man. That is a very hip hop is in a very weird place right now. And regardless, I still love it. I think even if it's at a down point right now, or what Yachty is saying, I think it's still, like you said, one of the best and most popular genres in the world. It's just not doing as commercially well as it normally does, and
it
I
even
think
goes to test like when we look at to transition to our next topic, like you look at the Grammys, no hip hop album was nominated for album of the year this year.
not a single one.
Do you feel like there was a hip hop album that should have been nominated?
Ah, man, it's tough
Because I'm not mad
because
at
I
them
was
for it, because
looking.
I don't really feel like my album of the year in the next month or so when we do our top 10 lists. I don't necessarily have a hip hop. I think I have one. I think a hip hop album deserves, but overwhelmingly not. You got to think Grammys have not been the kindest to hip hop and just black art in general. So I can see why it's not there.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like even when these hip hop albums get nominated, they never win, and that's what I was telling you before we started the show. And this is no shots at the not the people who got nominated for these top awards, best album, best written performance, all these categories. I I think there has always been a disrespect to hip hop. We've never really seen an album that should win album of the year from the hip hop category because it's just not viewed the same. And it's a shame because you and me know that there are hip hop albums that are better than anything else out there. Um, this year, probably not the case. Me personally, I don't have any albums that were like, yeah, this should be a top album of the year, regardless of genre from the hip hop category. Um, the only one I'm seeing right now, no, even her loss, like it was very,
I'm not even like, but
that's
it's the
very
fact that
targeted.
a hip hop song or album wasn't even nominated for album of the year, record of the year, song of the year. It's all three that makes it insane. Maybe one, all right, I get it, but all three, hip hop didn't
Yeah,
have a record of the year, song of the year, or album of the year. It's kind of insane to me.
yeah, and it's gonna be. it's gonna be upsetting if SZA doesn't win any of this stuff because I feel like she's probably
She's gonna
not that
clean it.
she's hip hop.
SZA's yeah, SZA is hip hop. Like
Yeah, I
she's hip
mean,
hop. She's hip hop. Like even though
yeah,
she makes R&B music, she's hip hop.
yeah.
But SZA's gonna clean up this year at the Grammys. Like 9 Grammy nominations. I think she's walking out with at least 3 or 4.
I really hope so. I really hope so because I really like SZA's album. And again, no shade at any of the other people who got nominated, Taylor Swift. But like, it could be very easy. We see SZA not go home with any Grammys, and I wouldn't be surprised because that's just how the Grammys are. There's reasons why artists don't want to go to the Grammys anymore. Me personally, I don't even really care about the Grammys anymore because like they never get it right.
Yeah, but we
There's a
talk about
reason
it. Look
why
at
there's
it.
a stigma against it.
Yeah, but we talk about it every year. Look at me and you. We're about to break down what we think about, you know what I mean, the nomination. So let's get right into it. Like it's obviously I don't think it matters to like overall how we view a piece of art, but I mean it definitely helps the artist like when it comes to them making money in the future.
Oh,
But
certainly, certainly.
all right, let's get some hating out the way. Let's get some hating out the way. Best rap album nominees: Killer Mike with Michael, Travis Scott with Utopia, Metro Boomin with Heroes and Villains, Nas and Hit Boy King's Disease 3, and Drake and 21 Savage Her Loss. All right. Out of those ones, how do you feel about that 5 right there? Do you think some should have been taken out?
No, I feel like that's pretty good. Unless I'm missing one.
There's a big one I think you're missing, and I think
Let's
we
hear it.
talked about it on this podcast. I made a TikTok on it. I think Gunna got robbed. Gift and a
Very good
Curse.
point.
I think if we do, not saying it's my album of the year, but I think I enjoyed the album a lot. It's not my favorite Gunna album, but I think you're talking about an artist who had that much pressure on him to come back and come back really well. I think he checks all the boxes. Culturally, I think Gift and a Curse has been around, made a pretty significant impact on the year, and it's had the commercial success from Fuck You Mean, Rodeo Drive. Like it's had the songs. He did it with no features.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Honestly, that was one
I think
I didn't even
Gunna
think about.
Gunna should have been on this list. Like honestly, I'm a dust head and a neckbeard hip hop fan just like anybody else. I love Nas and Hit Boy. I think King's Disease 3 was probably one of the weakest of their collaborations. I would definitely take that out and put Gunna in there for sure.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I guess besides Gunna, I don't really think there was anyone like else major that I like saw because Kendrick didn't release this year. J. Cole didn't release an album this
And I know they're
year.
not gonna do a lot of like
Um,
they've done a better job of like nominating underground or not underground, but just not mainstream hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I'm cool with Killer Mike. Michael's a really good album, but I just feel like Gunna, as far as the commercial success and everything like that, I think it should.
yeah,
I think it should have won, or I think it should be definitely nominated.
yeah. It's interesting because I'm looking at the albums on here that did make it, and I'm struggling because if Gunna was on here, I would say personally, I would probably put the Gunna album as the best album of the year.
It's your
Just
favorite.
because of like,
It's
no,
your
not my
favorite.
favorite, not my favorite. I would say it's the best because of the things you said. Because he did it with no features. He kind of had to
He
have
had
this
the
album.
impact. He had the impact. Like
Exactly.
it sold really
Um,
well. Like people still listen to the album. Like
yeah. And see, that's why I say it's the best. It's not my favorite because I am a really big fan of Heroes and Villains and Her Loss. I think that's one of Drake's best albums in a while. And Heroes and Villains, obviously Metro Boomin did his thing.
I
I
forgot that it
love.
came out like at the end of last year, like December, November, so it counts as this year. But I'm not mad at Heroes and Villains. I think when we do my Apple Music like wrap up, Heroes and Villains is probably gonna be up there. I've been listening to that a lot. For me, Utopia. I know a lot of people's kind of like changing opinions on how they feel about Utopia. Like they really liked it at first, and I've noticed that a lot of people that have gone back to listen to it, like uh Joe Budden podcast, Mallory Bros, Sean C, a lot of the guys that I've been watching, Roy Mall podcast, a lot of them have like not liked it at all. And I don't understand that. I've really liked the project.
Yeah, see, so Utopia is one of those weird ones where like we acknowledged it was good at the very beginning, but we had our problems with it. Um, and I don't think any of those things have really changed. It is very influenced by Kanye and Yeezus, which isn't a bad thing. I still think that Utopia is its own work and should be appreciated as such. But just with those things that we've talked about and the way that I think other people feel about this album, there's there's probably pretty good belief in thinking that he's not going to win this Grammy, and that me personally, I don't enjoy Utopia as much as I enjoyed Heroes and Villains or Her Loss.
All right. I don't want to see like be like a hater, but like I get it. Like I'm an Ice Spice fan. I'm a Spice Girl. I'm an Ice Spice fan, just like the rest of us. But are we really gonna do this? Are we really gonna have her nominated for this many Grammys? Like, I think Best Rap Song of the Year is just an atrocious category in general. Attention, Barbie World, Just Wanna Rock, Rich Flex, and then Scientists and Engineers. If anything, I thought Fuck You Mean should have got a nomination in this.
Yep.
So I think that list stinks. That list is nasty.
It's interesting because I mean you've got Doja, you've got Nicki and Ice Spice, then you've got dude, you forget how fucking big Just Wanna Rock was though. Everyone was doing that.
But hasn't Just Wanna Rock been out for so many fucking? Just Wanna Rock didn't come out here this year.
Right, okay. So,
it was on
I was
Pink.
wondering the same thing.
Like, let me search it.
It did though, because yeah, it was on the Pink Tape, and the Pink Tape came out 2023, if I'm not mistaken, a couple months ago.
But I could have swore Just Wanna Rock came out before that, before it was on the Pink Tape. Let me search that.
I thought so too, but then regardless, you've got Rich Flex, and then you've got your
Just Wanna Rock came out like October of last year.
Oh, okay. So interesting that it's getting the nomination there. And then you've also got Rich Flex, like I mentioned, and Scientists and Engineers, which for our Neckbeard fans, that's Killer Mike featuring Andre 3000, Future.
Great song. Great song.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have liked to seen what's the Travis gone off Utopia with him, SZA, and Future. I think that I don't know if that counts as rap. Telekinesis. I feel like Telekinesis would have been a good nod. That's my song. When we do our song of the year, that's gonna be up there for sure.
Yep. And hey, Utopia, another album that I feel like used some rock influence because Kanye used a lot of rock influence on Yeezus too. I looked at the rock categories. I know we probably won't talk a lot about it, but I was just kind of disappointed with a lot of the nominations, and that didn't change with Best Rap Song either. Yeah, I was surprised to see Just Wanna Rock there. Rich Flex is a good song, but I would have rather seen Fuck You Mean there. And then Barbie World and Attention. I mean, I guess you kind of have to because those are two like of the biggest commercially successful songs of the genre. So
I'm surprised Doja didn't have a different song on there. I didn't really like Attention that much.
Yeah, me too.
Out of all the Doja songs, like don't get me wrong, Doja's is Grammy darling, but like Attention.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm not really sure who would win this category too. If I'm just going off of impact, I'd probably say Just Wanna Rock because of like culturally the impact it had. Maybe Rich Flex, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
And for all my R&B heads, I think the R&B list is cool. SZA's gonna clean up though. Like it's a set. I look at it. They have Janelle Monáe got a couple nominations. I'm happy that Nova by Terrence Martin and James Fauntleroy got nominated. But SZA's gonna clean up.
Nomination too.
SZA's gonna clean up though.
I agree.
I don't necessarily
be close personally.
I like SZA's album. She's probably still has my R&B album of the year, but like I don't know. When we do our recorded AWR awards towards the end of the year in about a month or so, I'll give you the real R&B list. The real deal lover boy, lover girl R&B list.
Well, now that our Grammy talk is out of the way, I think this is a perfect segue into our favorite segment of the show.
Put you on.
Put you on.
we're getting better at
Like
this singing shit.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, man. I feel like every time it gets better. But all right, man. Do you want to start with music or movies?
We'll start with movies and TV shows.
All right. What do you got for us?
I got Astro. Or I got Pluto. It's a new story on new show on Netflix, animated show on Netflix. It's kind of like a darker twist on. Have you seen the old animated movie Astro Boy?
Yeah.
It's like a darker twist on that. It's from the same the guy that is making the show or made the show is the same guy that made the anime Monster and the manga 20th Century Boys. And so Pluto on Netflix, really good. It's about like this these advanced robots in this futuristic society that one by one they keep getting murdered, but they have to figure out who is killing the robots because nobody's killed the robots and humans are dying, but nobody's killed humans in like 100 or so years. But it's really, really, really good show.
Okay. Awesome. All right. I think for mine, I'm gonna go with a stand-up comedy special I actually watched. It's Ralph Barbosa, and it's called Cowabunga. It's new on Netflix. He's a Mexican stand-up comedian, and he's very funny. His delivery is very laid back. He's not super like expressive, but his jokes land. So I suggest go check it out. That's a pretty fun one. And yeah, that's our. I think that'll wrap it up for our movies. What do you got for music this week?
Music. I'm gonna hit you with some R&B. Submissive by Destin Conrad. Dropped about 2-3 weeks ago, on top of a bunch of other R&B stuff, but that's been in my rotation. Love and Devotion is probably my favorite track off that album.
Okay, okay, nice. I am gonna go hip hop. I'm gonna go Babytron and Babytron and BLP Kosher. They did a song on Megatron 2, Babytron's newest album called IRL, and it's just them going back and forth, exchanging these bars. And if you know what Babytron's music sounds like, maybe it's not for you. But me
Punchlines.
personally,
Punchlines
the punchlines,
are
hey,
hilarious.
hilarious on this track. Yeah, if you like funny, I guess like punchlines that make you think a little, go check out that song IRL, Babytron.
Ever since like I figured out about Babytron through the guys and like through the internet in general, I've come to the conclusion that Babytron has the second. Babytron is the second best punchline rapper ever behind Lil Wayne. Babytron is so good with his punchlines. Clap it up for him because I always have a blast listening to him.
He has a talent for naming like completely obscure former athletes in his music. Like he'll make a bar about Thabo and we'll be like, that was actually kind of hard.
No, it really is. It really is a talent. Like he'll name some player that used to play for the New Jersey Nets in like 2003. And you're just like, okay, I guess that works for the rhyme. Cool, let's go.
Yeah. Well, that's I think that's a pretty good segment. Or good end to the segment. And now we can keep it in the sports realm as we talk about Babytron and these obscure athlete references. Let's talk about a guy who's not been obscure, someone who's been in the news.
It seems like every week.
Yeah, literally, it seems like it.
He's
Mr.
out of
Draymond Green.
He's out of control.
He needs to be stopped. Because last night, we record this on a Wednesday. Tuesday night, the Golden State Warriors were playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it started with Jaden McDaniels and Klay Thompson. I'm not mistaken. They started the scuffle. They were like ripping at each other's jerseys or whatever. And then Cat comes in to help Jaden McDaniels. Gobert comes in to help Jaden McDaniels. And then all of a sudden, you see Draymond Green run across the court and put Rudy Gobert in a headlock. And you thought he was about to put him in the sleeper, choke him out. This is UFC type stuff, but luckily that's not what happened. It was very close to happening.
It was hilarious. Like I just laugh at the fact that like, because I'm with it to a certain extent. I know Steve Kerr brought it up. Like Gobert kind of not choked in the same way Draymond choked Gobert out, but he did grab Klay around like the head and neck area and did like wrap him up hard. Now I don't think in the same way that Draymond did, but Draymond just went there and said, "Come here." You could tell
Yeah.
Draymond's always been wanting to do that to Rudy Gobert because
Yeah.
he did not. He had him in a vice grip. He did not let Rudy Gobert go at all, and he was talking to him in his ear, like "Come here, little," like he was talking to him. I find it hilarious that like the cat or ant was just both standing there, and now they wanted to help Gobert out.
Now the camera angle following Gobert's face, his expression the whole time is like, "What is happening right now? Why am I in a headlock in an NBA game?" But I mean, what do you expect? Do you think Draymond's gonna get like a 3-game suspension?
Yeah, I think he's gonna get
At
suspended a
least,
lot.
right?
I think it hasn't helped his case. Like the whole stuff with Poole this offseason, and then he had the stuff that happened with Ant. Like what was it, like 2 games ago, where they leaked the
Yeah.
audio of what him and Ant were saying to each other. I think Draymond's pride got hurt. I think he had to get his get back. I think he had to get his get back.
Man, someone sent the video of him chasing down KPJ in our
That
group chat. And
still is the funniest thing where he like gets what is it called? He misses a wild shot or gets
gets his
tangled up.
rebound, or no, yeah. So he gets the rebound, throws it back inbounds, throws it like cross court, and it gets picked off by KPJ. And then he's taking it like on the fast break, and Draymond comes rushing from the other side and just literally tackles him, like, like just from behind tackle, like he's trying to stop him from reaching the goal line. Oh my god.
Those two are
Yeah,
like,
Draymond is comedy.
at a certain point, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's enough of like, oh my god, he's dirty. No, this is a talent. What he keeps doing. So I can't even get mad at it at this point. And it made me think, like, what is your like favorite like Draymond like tweak out moments?
Bro, classic. The classic is him kicking people in the nuts. I think Draymond. There's so many things we could pick from Draymond. I'm also gonna add him punching Jordan Poole. I think that was really funny. Like, I don't know what Jordan Poole
but
told
to this,
him.
we know what he told him. He would just say that like he's an expensive backpack that Curry is always carrying him. But to this day, bro, he got the shit punched out of him, and I can't even hate Poole because like everybody gets the shit punched out of them once in their life. But god damn, he got the shit punched out of him.
Yeah, that was really funny. That's probably up there for me. What about you?
Bro, him tackling KPJ, like just watching that video as like a third party neutral is hilarious. Like the way he threw the ball out of bounds on KPJ, ran the full length of the court to catch him, and then when he caught KPJ, he just tackled him. Like he doesn't try to make a basketball play whatsoever, and he didn't get a tech or a flagrant foul. It's hilarious. Like when people say that Golden State like had the league rigged for a couple minutes, you could point to that moment of him tackling KPJ, and I'm like, all right, I see it. But this Gobert one might finish as like the number one, because he just like there was no back. It was at the start of the game too, and he just tackled him. He had Gobert in a vice grip, a chokehold, and I've never seen nobody have. And he didn't let go. Like he didn't let go for like a solid minute and a half.
Yeah, that was really funny. This is definitely gonna finish as a top 3 Draymond moment, and I don't think it's gonna be close. Um, Man, he's got so many good ones because I'm looking at it right now. He's just always one of the people he's just funny. Like I forgot who was singing the national anthem. I don't
Oh,
know
the
if it was
Fergie. It was Fergie.
Fergie was
It was
singing it.
Fergie.
Yeah, Draymond's face during the national anthem had me in tears the first time I watched it, and to this day will still make me laugh. So
I just want to see if he'll
Draymond,
talk
just
about it on the podcast.
keep being you, man.
I just want
I'm
to
sure
see.
he will. I'm sure he will.
I got it here because I saw Pat Bev. He threw Are you with him that Cat and Anthony Edwards are soft for not helping out Gobert?
Well, I wouldn't want to fuck with Draymond either. Even and plus, I think I don't know where I saw this. Someone, it might have been on Twitter. Someone was like, Draymond had been waiting to do this since Rudy Gobert started the COVID pandemic.
Bro, Gobert, I feel for him, bro. Because I think he's a good player, and the Timberwolves are having a good start to the season. But Draymond was, boy, none of his friends helped him out. None of them.
No, no. And knowing Draymond's track record, if I'm Anthony Edwards or I'm Cat, I'm staying out of it. I don't want to get kicked in the balls or tackled from behind later in the game. So, hey, you know what? I respect it. So before we move on from Draymond, I also saw this. Obviously, this happens a lot whenever his name is in the news, but there's this conversation about his Hall of Fame like status. Do you think he's a Hall of Famer if his career
He's a lock. It's a lock, man. It's a lock.
See, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Unfortunately for people who hate Draymond Green, he's going to be a Hall of Famer because of the championships, because of his defensive impact, and because of moments like this. Honestly, like
you got to think he has multiple All-Star appearances. I think one All NBA. He has Defensive Player of the Year. He has multiple rings. Think about it. If Steph showed up in 2016, he'd have a Finals MVP too.
Yeah.
Like if Steph played good in that Game 7 in 2016, Draymond Green would be Finals MVP.
So I forgot about this too, real quick. Someone you mentioned Steph Curry. Someone mentioned that any game that Steph Curry isn't playing in, Draymond Green tries to get ejected. Was that Rudy Gobert?
Yeah, that was Gobert that said that.
Gobert said it, right? That's hilarious because he's probably not wrong. Draymond's like, okay, we're losing. Steph's out. Yeah, fuck it.
And I love it too, because like at what point he's like obviously he's not gonna get stopped anytime soon. The league is, I think they're suspended for a hot minute with this one. I think he gets a smooth 5 games.
Ooh, 5? See, I'm thinking between 3 and 5.
Yeah, he's gonna be out for a little minute.
Okay, but I'm glad we're both in agreement. He is a Hall of Famer. I know there are people who are gonna say he's not, but I think it's just because you don't like his antics. On the court, he has been a part of the big three that has helped bring a lot of championships to Golden State. So I just don't see how you can't let Draymond into the Hall of Fame, especially with how impactful he is. He isn't a guy who's riding the bench, who isn't helping win at all. He's someone who is very pivotal for these early Golden State teams. And shit, even the last time they won the championship, he was still a, like very important part of that team. So Draymond, Hall of Fame. But now I want to switch the topic over to football, and I think we got to end the show with football because football right now is still the big money maker. If you check all of the top lists on the podcast, football is by far the most popular sports podcast or category for sports podcast. And with that being said, Ethan, we're about halfway through the NFL season, and I got to tell you, from my personal opinion, the MVP race is going to be very tight this year because I have no idea who's the front runner right now.
I'm with you. I don't think there's a single front runner. This has been the most open it is, like this late into the season. Because usually this time last year or in years past, you already knew who at least the top 2-3 were. Like, especially early on in the season. Maybe there was like a wild card that you're like, oh, maybe he has the stats and he kind of got a couple of good wins stacked up. Maybe he's in the combo. But by this point, what is it, week 10 already? Or it's going on week 11? There was already like at least a top 5 decided.
I don't know. I mean, because let's just name off a couple guys and why they,
especially because it's been like a quarterback driven award. Like ever since it's been a quarterback driven award, I guess since like Adrian Peterson was the last non-quarterback to win it, and he had arguably the best season a running back has ever had ever. But since then, it's been all quarterbacks, and the quarterback play this year has not been like consistently like head and shoulder. There hasn't been a head and shoulders. Like we know Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, right?
Yeah.
There's elite quarterbacks after him. But as far as what everybody in general has been doing, there's not been like one, you know what I mean, to the moon candidate.
Yeah. There definitely hasn't been one that stood head and shoulders above, which is kind of crazy because, I mean, we talk about the top 3 quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, and the reason I put quotations is because I think you might finally be getting me to drop him out of my top 3, but Josh Allen has not been playing great. And Joe Burrow started the season very bad, has recently picked it up, and I think he could get himself back into the MVP conversation. But Joe Burrow, we have to account for how bad he was at the beginning of the season. But besides that, I think there are a couple other guys you have to take into consideration. Obviously, Jalen Hurts. I know you're going to say no. I think he's eight. I think there's a very good reason for him to be in the conversation. He's 8-1, and he's leading one of the best offenses in football. I think Lamar Jackson needs to be in that conversation. There are going to be a lot of people who say he doesn't because of his turnovers, but I think Lamar is also having to work with a lot of different stuff in Baltimore right now.
I'm not letting you give Lamar that pass. I'm not letting you give Lamar that pass because I was on the same, I guess, similar wavelength to you. I think Lamar, up until like as far as narrative goes, he had a good case for being MVP. But when you actually, Travis, I hate when a broken clock is right twice a day, and when you look at what Lamar Jackson has produced, this is why I say wins aren't this an own. They shouldn't be the end all be all when it comes to being a quarterback stat. What Lamar Jackson has produced is not been the greatest. He's only thrown 10 touchdowns for the year, and he has 7 or 8 interception. Yes, he's run the ball well, but he's also had in his 450 rushing yards this year, he's having a career low in yards per attempt since his rookie year. He's also had 10 fumbles for the entire year and lost 5. So it's like when you actually look at him, yes, he's had some big wins. All right, blew out the Lions, blew out Seattle. He's also had some bad losses. Blew the game to the Steelers. Choked his last game to the Browns. And he has a turnover problem. Like, if this was certain other quarterbacks, they wouldn't have this. Lamar just has an MVP already, so we think of him that high. But we keep giving him a pass, and he hasn't played well this year.
Okay, so I think that's a little far. I think he has played well. There are moments where I think he is a little turnover prone. And me personally, again, not to say that these losses don't matter, but they're division losses against Pittsburgh. Against
I have a question. Just not to go on my rant, just to make it clear. Like, what is your stance on division plays? Just really quickly. You said they're hard games. Like the division plays that they can sneak up on you. Okay. I just want to make sure that you're gonna keep that consistent standard that like it's a divisional game.
Okay, but
because
I've always made this. Okay. I've always made this case that divisional games are always a toss-up because you never really know how teams are going to come into it. Because there's a year, especially in that division. That division is one of the toughest in football right now. But just overall, I feel like division games can be very weird. There's a year where the Packers, or in my division, the Packers are better than the Bears, but the Bears beat them one year. I mean, it hasn't happened in a long time, but you know,
I'm with you. But okay, keep going about Lamar, please, because he has all the weapons. You gave him the receivers, Odell and Zay Flowers. He has an elite defense, a top 3-4 defense in football. Might be the best. If somebody says, I'm not going to argue with them. He has Mark Andrews. Like, what more does he need to produce? They got rid of the play caller that they wanted out. He can't have, like, what more does he need? He doesn't have to have the perfect situation, the perfect everything for us to say he's not playing well.
Yeah. Again, I don't think that he's playing his best football, but because no one is playing their best football, he has to be in the conversation. What
other guys you got?
I've got another guy who I didn't really believe it until this last week because he pulled out another comeback win, and he's only a rookie. And if he keeps playing at this rate, CJ Stroud could win MVP. And that sounds crazy because he's a rookie. The Texans are not a very good football team, but that just goes to show how good he has been for them. He led them to 2 comeback wins in the last 2 weeks. He's putting up spectacular numbers with very little help. And this is all in his first year and Coach DeMeco Ryans' first year. So this was a year that no one expected them to be good, let alone
entertaining,
in the playoff hunt. And entertaining. So CJ Stroud is definitely climbing. I think it's impossible to not mention him in this conversation now because he has been one of the most electric players in all football, and he's doing it at a very efficient rate. We talk about turnovers with the guys with Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson. You don't get that with CJ Stroud. He hasn't thrown very many picks. He doesn't fumble the ball. He's a guy who takes care of the football and will make plays.
No, CJ Stroud, I can sit here and say that I've been wrong. I wasn't the biggest fan of him coming out of high school. and he's been far and away the best quarterback this year as far as rookies go. Whether it stays like this is we'll have another conversation in the coming years. But he's been really good, so you're not gonna get no hate from me. I'm gonna eat crow on that. I think my thing with CJ is the Texans aren't gonna win enough games for him to get MVP.
Yeah,
You know
the
that
rate they're going.
but you know how it is. You know how it is. Not saying you have to be the best player on the best team to win MVP, even though it happens a lot of the times. You have to win a certain amount. If the Texans don't make the playoffs, he's not gonna get MVP. If the
But I
Texans
mean,
don't
hey,
if the Texans win the division and upset the Jags, then you have a case. But if he doesn't win, because wins matter to you, right? Wins matter to you, because
they do. They
okay,
certainly do.
so they should matter to forever to keep it consistent. Because that's why you have Jalen Hurts in the conversation, even though he doesn't have the stats.
He does have the stats.
He doesn't have the stats, but
He does. But.
no. But you have wins is the biggest reason why Jalen Hurts there. So for that alone, I think CJ to keep it consistent, you got to keep it consistent for when CJ Stroud. Because if CJ, I'm sitting here saying he is probably the favorite right now. I don't think he's gonna win it because he's a rookie, and the Texans aren't gonna win enough games.
Okay, so this is my only counter to that. I'm looking at the rest of their schedule, and it does kind of shape up favorably for them. They've got the Cardinals, who, I mean, with Kyler Murray, I guess that game is going to be kind of a toss-up now. Even though I think the Cardinals stink, Kyler was the only reason they won last week.
The Panthers stink, and the Texans lost to the Panthers.
That's fair. That is also very fair.
The Falcons stink, and the Texans lost to the Falcons.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, so I guess that's why we play every football game. We got to see what happens. But besides that, the Texans have 1, 2, 3, 4 more divisional games on their schedule. 1 against the Jags, 2 against the Titans, and 1 against the Colts. And it's going to be interesting to see how they finish the season off. Because if they do make the playoffs, I think there's a real chance we talk about CJ Stroud being our MVP.
I'm with you. I think if they make
the playoffs,
if they do not play the playoffs, I don't think he should deserve. He shouldn't get he's a rookie and he's playing well, because that doesn't apply to any other quarterback in the league. You know what I'm saying? I think doing well. There's still a lot of season left. So as far as quarterbacks wise, I think there's one name you're forgetting, and I just want you to say it. Not that he's the favorite or he's gonna win it. I just want you to say it. I want you to say it. It hurts you. I know it hurts you. I hurt you because he has a case.
I personally, I don't see it. I don't see it coming to fruition.
Oh, coming to fruition is another thing. I don't think, knowing our luck, the Cowboys' luck, Dak Prescott has played really good this year. He's played really good this year. Minus, not to discard it completely, but to put into context, taking out the Arizona game, or not the Arizona game, the 49ers game, I don't think he's had a bad game besides that. If you want to say he wasn't great during the Arizona, I'm going to look at you and say, okay, they lost the game, but that was more, I think the whole team was bad more than just so him. But cool, he did throw an interception to ice the game. So, I'm with you. The defense also let up 300 points, 200 rushing yards. But Dak Prescott has had a really good year. He's had a really good year so far.
The thing with Dak is, you're right, he does have the record and he has the numbers. They have impressive wins, but there are just moments, I feel like, for me right now, kind of the same thing with like Joe Burrow, where like you take into consideration these things that happened earlier in the season. Not to say that Dak has had like a huge amount of these plays, but there are moments where I look back on these games, the blowout against San Francisco, the loss to the Eagles a couple weeks back, where Dak played good, but there were moments in those games
that
where
he could have won it.
He could have won it, or he messed up in a major way that kind of cost his team momentum or lost them the game in the case of the Eagles game. So that's me personally where I stand on Dak Prescott. Again, I think you're 100% right in the sense of he's got the wins, the stats are there, but
I think it's less of the stats, it's the performances too. The last 3 or 4 weeks, you want to say CJ's been better? Cool. Other than CJ, the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been the best quarterback in the NFL. You talk about the game against the Chargers. I know it's the Chargers. I'm with you. He was great. He played better than Justin Herbert, that a lot of people think is better. That think is better. So he outplayed Justin Herbert. What other game? The Rams game. The Rams leading up into that game had only let up 4 passing touchdowns that entire game. He had 3 passing
Yeah.
touchdowns in that game. So it's not. I'm not saying it's a crazy win. They're an average team, but with context, the Jets game. The Jets are trash on offense, but on defense, they have an elite defense, and he's performed the best against that Jets defense, better than Patrick Mahomes played against that Jets defense, better than Josh Allen played against that Jets defense, better than Jalen Hurts played against that Jets defense. He's played against good defenses, if you want to give him that. Great teams, he didn't show up against the Niners. He was awful against the Niners. The Arizona
Yep.
game, he was meh. He could have done better. I'm not gonna throw it on the team. The team could have done better, but we're talking about him. The Philly game, I think the only reason why they're in that game is because of Dak, but he needed to have a perfect performance. Didn't have it. So I'm not gonna hold him too much against the Eagles game. But you look at the schedule that he has coming up. He just blew out the Eagles, or blew out the Giants in a divisional game. The first game they played, everybody said it was all the defense. So he ran it back on them again, and it was all the offense. They play the Panthers this upcoming week. We both know that they're going to stat pad against the Panthers. They play Washington on Thanksgiving. Divisional game, but he's going to get his stats against Washington.
We the Commanders.
We the Commanders. They play the Eagles at home. He plays well against the Eagles. In about 3 or 4 weeks, he might have. I'm with you. He needs to get some. He needs signature moments, and I'm not denying that.
No, I mean the thing is, I'm here with you on all that, and you're right. There's still a lot of season to be played, and I'm looking at the second half of the schedule, and this is gonna go both ways. They've got the Panthers, they've got the Commanders, they play the Seahawks, the Eagles, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Lions, and then finish the season with the Commanders. If Dak can come out of these games, that's 8 games. If he can come out of these games at least 5-3, I would definitely have him
with these performances. I'm going to put in with these performances that he's doing.
Yes. So, but I mean, by saying that, they'll beat the Panthers, which I think we can both agree on. I mean, you'd never really know, but we kind of know. They got the Commanders, which again, this should be another team that they should beat. And honestly, I'll go as to say that they could beat them 3 times. At that rate, you only have to beat the Seahawks, the Eagles, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Lions.
You got to split that. You got to split
one of those teams twice. Yep. You have to beat one of those teams. Yeah, or you have to win 2 of those games. Out of those 5 games, you have to win 2, Dak, and that's the only way I'm going to put him in that conversation.
And I know I'm a Dak homer and a Cowboys homer. I completely agree with you. There's going to be no argument from here. If in 7 by the end of the season, Dak threw for 40 touchdowns and let's say 12 interceptions, but he wasn't able to beat the Dolphins, the Bills, the Eagles, or the Lions, or the Seahawks. If he wasn't able to, of those 5 teams, if he can't get at least 2 wins out of that group, at least bare minimum 2, then I don't think he should be in the MVP conversation. I'm with you.
Yep. And okay, so I've got 2 more names that I want to talk about before we close out the episode real quick. One guy who is realistically still in the conversation, he needs to beat a team that's actually good, and that's Tua. I think Tua has led one of the most explosive offenses in football, but they just don't have a statement win. And that's my big problem with the Dolphins right now is they just haven't beat anybody of substance. They can beat up on they can beat up on the Broncos, put 70 on them, but when it's time for them to play a real team, they just don't step up to the plate. So I think Tua is kind of, again, like Dak Prescott in that situation where I need to see it the rest of the season. I need to see him win one of these big games. I need him to have a big moment for himself, and we'll see where it goes.
I'm with you. I think I'm same moment. I'm with Dak. Tua played really great against the bad teams, but their NFL teams. You got to play him great. He played him great. Wet the bed against the Bills. Wet the bed against the Eagles. I think they have another loss in there somewhere too, right?
Yeah, let me go back. Let me check their.
They have another the Dolphins have a similar problem that the Cowboys have in that they haven't beat a good team yet. They beat some average teams, they beat some solid teams, but they haven't beat a good team yet. And so until those questions are answered, you're not going to see that much. You're not going to see that much. Like you're not going to see any validity to until they get that statement win. You're not.
Yeah,
And they
they
lost
lost
it.
to the Chiefs
They
too.
lost to the Chiefs too. So that they had three cracks at it. Don't worry. They for the rest of the season, they played Dallas, they played the Ravens, and they played the Bills. The rest of the season, so they can if they pick up one of those wins or two of those wins, and Tua continues to play great, maybe he's in the conversation too.
Yep. And the last guy I want to talk about was actually his teammate, because he's obviously positions outside of the quarterback don't get any love. But if there was one guy I would like to give a shout out to, it would be Tyreek Hill. Because when Tyreek Hill is on the field, he is literally unstoppable. I mean, if you get a prize picks, if you get a prize picks bet and it's at 100 yards, you hit the over on Tyreek Hill every time, because he's just unguardable. You put him out there on the field as a slot, as an outside receiver, and even with Tua, who has limited arm strength, Tyreek is still reaching those numbers and exceeding them, almost hitting 200 yards a game when he really wants to. So, if anyone outside of the quarterback position should be like in the conversation, I think it's Tyreek Hill. I know there will be a lot of people who say Christian McCaffrey, and I love Christian McCaffrey as much as the next guy, but he does benefit from an offense that is, helping him. Tyreek is the offense in Miami. When when Tua doesn't have anyone open, fuck it, Tyreek's down there somewhere. Like that really is like the kind of player that Tyreek Hill is.
We're having a great season for wide receivers in general. Like that race for who's gonna get that like first All Pro nod or that Pro Bowl nod as far as receivers go is gonna be insane because Tyreek is Tyreek. AJ Brown has been, in my opinion, carrying that Philly offense, and then you have CD the last month going nuclear. Damn, they're getting 175 every fucking game. Like that. Yeah, not to nerd out, but that wide receiver, that top end has been really good this year.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson would probably be on that same pace if he hadn't gotten hurt. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's been a really exciting year for wide receivers, running backs. They'll kind of figure it out. I think Christian McCaffrey would certainly be the front runner if you had to say one running back. But
Yeah, I'm with you.
all right, well, anything else you want to leave the viewers with before we sign up?
No, thank you guys for listening and watching and spending your time with us. We're gonna be up with the end of the year is coming, so we're gonna be doing our AWR awards. So make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter when we drop those awards, so that you guys can vote. You, the audience, can vote on what you think should win the certain awards. But other than that, yeah, thank you guys for watching.